Hello and welcome to Best Ball Tea and Crumpets, not affiliated with any stream of any similar name, complete accident, and don't want anyone to be confused on that. We are waiting for 7. If anyone wants to hop in, it'd be fun to hang out. So yeah, I'm gonna try to run at least one of these. Would love to get 2 in, but don't think I could realistically get 2 before 10. I don't want to stream when Pete is streaming, so I will make sure we do not end up doing that. But yeah, thanks for coming and hanging out. This is around my 70-something big board. So I guess while we're waiting for 7, I can pull up the exposures, what we've got going on. And I told myself at the outset of doing the big board that I would not get over 40% of anybody, because last year I had a ton of Izzy Abanikanda, I had a ton of Dylan Laube, and they both were zeros. Actually, Dylan Laube was negative, which is really awesome, because I didn't know that was actually possible to finish a season with negative points, but we did that. And as you may notice here, I'm over 40% with 3 people. I've got 42% David Njoku. I am a complete David Njoku slappy this season. I think he is primed for a breakout. I think the QB play in Cleveland's going to get better, and Cleveland promoted their tight end coach to OC. So I think it's wheels up for Njoku, and that he's pretty badly underpriced for potentially elite tight end option. And then I have Jack Besh, who everything, the hype at the Senior Bowl seemed to suggest that this guy could even be going up in the second round. He was pretty much free for a while. He was going undrafted in some early contests. Now he's around the 16th, 17th round. But if he has a good combine, he could rise even further. So I've been trying to get my shares of him. These running backs, I wish I was taking, and I'll zoom out to just the running backs here. I wish I was spreading this out a little more. Rashad Smith, LaQuint Allen are my favorites, but Tootin, Martinez, Mullings, Jordan James, these are all guys who are pretty much, late round dart throws. And to say that one is necessarily going to get better draft capital or landing spot than the other, we're really guessing. And I'm definitely more overweight than I wanted to. Greg V, welcome. Yeah, La Quinta in. I know I think I draft a lot of him because his name is so recognizable. It really sticks out in the queue when you're in the 20th. And I have heard good things about Mr. LaQuint Allen Jr., but not enough to just take him, at a 3-to-1 clip over, Jordan James or other guys, Raheem Sanders, a few of these names that I'm just not clicking as often as I should. So that is where I am. Let's go back and check the fill rate. Oh, so we're still waiting for 7. Best route runner of the RB class. That's what I heard. I mean, I tend to try to weight those late round running backs towards the ones with a little bit of pass catching chops, because that can provide you both floor and ceiling for these guys. And I would rather my late round dart running back have the ability to catch passes than to be like a first and second down plotter who I'm hoping, somehow ends up stealing a goal line role or just kind of, it feels like it's a harder path for them to production, especially as a rookie. So yeah, so we'll see. I am glad that I am not the only one on board there. I definitely thought these were going to fill a little faster, but it's also 8:43 a.m. on Tuesday, February 24th. So maybe I need to adjust my priors a little bit as far as how fast drafts will fill. So I'll go back to my exposure tab because we're not going to fire in a second. I'll look at my QBs. year's lessons maybe more to heart than I should, because last year's QB class is pretty widely recognized as better than this one. So I got a lot of Cam Ward, but he does go pretty late. He goes in the 150s, and I think he might be being punished a little with how this class just doesn't seem that great. But he should be a day one starter wherever he goes. And it's a little weird that we don't know where that is. Normally, the number one overall, the number one QB prospect goes to the team with the number one pick, end of story. But there is some word that Tennessee, is not necessarily enamored with him. They might try to trade the pick. They could do any number of things. So it's not like a guarantee he's going to Tennessee, which has made stacking these rookie QBs really weird, because, you could get your Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley, and then that's not the stack. You don't know how to stack some of these guys. So it feels like QB is a little more unsettled in these early big board contests than maybe they were last season. Jackson Dart, that's a lot of Jackson Dart, but he's always, if I take him, he's my third QB. I am in agreement with one Davis Maddock that there is a good chance he goes to the Jets. That is my, sort of dream landing spot for him. I think Jackson Dart could be kind of the Bo Nixian rookie with some rushing upside, but he could be a second round pick. I've seen him mocked to like the Rams, and if the Rams bring back Stafford and they draft Dart, then that's a nightmare, because Dart basically is going to zero, barring an injury for next season. Dynasty, different story, but in best ball, that could be, that kind of scenario is a non-zero chance. So, 25% of Dart is a little risky, but if he does end up starting this season, I think that's a pretty good price for, somewhat exciting prospect. And then after that, I think I've done a fairly good job kind of smoothing out my exposures. A little heavy on Drake May, but that's because I am a leg up sub, and you have to have over 20% Drake May, or I believe you get booted from their Discord. No, I'm just kidding. But they, Drake May, I think, does have a lot of upside, and I agree with a lot of the points those guys make over there regarding May. I think he's going to, continue to make improvements. The Patriots offense really can't get worse, so I like Drake May. And Bryce Young was a guy I had none of last season. I don't think I drafted any of him. And I thought I was pretty smart when he got benched. And then he came back and was really good. He was hitting lineups late in the season and into the playoffs. Started running more, which is huge. And I think things are going to be improving there in Carolina. But we are live and we are in the 9-hole. Let's see. I am not recognizing anybody in here, but if you are in here, please let me know, because it is more fun to do these, and I will shout out your team. And but yeah, all badges, which is not super surprising for again, you have to be pretty diehard to be drafting today, and even more diehard to be hanging out in this stream. So thank you. You are one of the real ones. I do appreciate you stopping by. A little warm up to Pete's stream later, which is at 10 a.m., which we are all, deeply thirsty for. And so I am glad that, football content is really year round, because, if you're doing this now, that you really just love this stuff, and I do. Foxy style, kind of a killer. Now, I can't tell if you are Foxy style or you're actually giving some alpha here. Tyler, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. I hope you were enjoying tea and crumpets. It's definitely not breakfast, and I wanted to make that clear, that we are in no way affiliated with any similarly titled streams. Any similarity is purely coincidental. This is, this show is not based on actual events, as they say in Law and Order. So I should have had that disclaimer up, but my video editor abruptly quit / never existed. Greg's Mooncat Foxy advance rate is pretty nuts though. Oh yes, I do remember the Foxy the Foxy advance rate. Best ball break. I know it's under copyright, and that's why we talked to our lawyers, and Tea and Crumpets was good. It's probably, you got to think the YouTube algo is going to push anything with Tea and Crumpets. Like, that's what people searching for best ball are looking for. So I am going to take Puka here. I think I've seen him sliding into late in the first, and it's probably the Stafford FUD. I personally can't imagine Stafford actually leaving. I'd like to think even if he does, Puka is going to be kind of QB proof. We've seen elite quarterbacks be QB proof. Like Neighbors had 1,200 plus yards with Drew Lock and, really dusty Daniel Jones. So I'm not really worried about Puka there at 9. I think that is a nice pick. Break fast. Yeah, there we go. I mean, yeah, I not everyone knows I am actually an attorney by trade, but I actually don't know anything about copyright law. So what I do know is I'm going to take Drake London here. We'll take Drake London at 16 and start off with Puka London, which I'm definitely happy to do. Brock Bowers has slipped a little bit to 17, which I think makes a little more sense than where he was going at around 14. I think those picks do make a little bit of a difference. Tyler, I am sorry, man. I am sorry. I missed it. And I just put Breast Fast up on my stream, which I pride on being a family show, and I just completely missed it. But the moment never truly passes if you're willing to just dig yourself into a hole and just go for it there. No, you're good. You're good. Not an air ball, Tyler. I mean, my God, you are out there, putting yourself out there in the content and Discord streets. So, it's like the man in the arena, which is the thing that you see posted most often by people when things aren't going well. Like if you see a company founder post the man in the arena quote, it's not good, which is a shame because I really do love that quote, and I think it is really true. How it's so easy to just lob grenades at people who are actually out there doing stuff, but like when you see the full quote with either Teddy Roosevelt or like the Peaky Blinders background, it's things aren't going well for a guy, and you really just want to give him a little space. So don't see anything too odd. Garrett Wilson, I think, has been rising, which is not surprising. He seemed like he was going too low in earlier drafts. He's flipped T. Higgins in this draft. I think some people were pretty excited that Higgins might be leaving Cincinnati, but in becoming the alpha, but sounds like he's just gonna keep his job as the number 2 there, which is not a bad job at all when you have Burrow throwing to him. There were games where he was outproducing Chase even when they were both in. Stafford to Jets or Jets trade up rumors is pushing Wilson up. Yeah, I'm going to make my pick. All this Bengal talk, I'll take some Chase Brown. I haven't been taking a ton of him because they are undoubtedly going to add somebody, but I don't want to have zero. He was really good last season, and I think no matter even if they add somebody, he's going to have a pretty significant role there. But yeah, Stafford to Jets would, be huge for Garrett Wilson. He produced with Zach Wilson at quarterback. He produced with Aaron Rodgers, locking on to Devontae Adams. So I am not worried about Garrett Wilson, and I think he's a buy. I mean, we were taking him at 1-2 last season. So yeah, any kind of improved QB play for the Jets, he is going to go burr, as they say. Taraji Rice seems a little early for Rice, at least in my opinion. Let's see what Sean does. Sean takes Lamar Jackson. So I am going to take Jaden Daniels. And this is a little bit of exposure smoothing or getting there for me. I have almost no Jaden Daniels, and I don't want to have no Jaden Daniels. I'd like to get 4 to 6% at least. He's really hard to pair with McLaurin. It seems a little high for him. I almost feel like the market is wrong putting him ahead of Hurts, who is the goal line back for Philly, in addition to being an outstanding passer and obviously on the Super Bowl champs. But yeah, this was a little bit of a rounding out exposures pick for me. Seems Stafford leaving Rams is not likely, so rises a bit much given we don't know what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, I think he's a little bit of a polarizing pick. But again, I can't imagine the QB play getting significantly worse for the Jets than it was with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it seems like if you took the name off the jersey of Rodgers and just like applied it to generic quarterback, we would be like, wow, that was terrible. The people that quote great men like Teddy R and MLK ironically would be yes, I agree. It's like people quote these great people in almost like thinking like, they see themselves in them, and it's like, brother, you are Teddy Roosevelt would indeed, not like you or tune into your stream. I hope he tuned into mine. I don't think he would, though. I got to be honest. I don't think Teddy Roosevelt would tune into this, but maybe he would. he would be a fan, which would be pretty cool. So yeah, this draft, nothing too out of the ordinary coming on. Typical run out for Odunze, McMillian, Addison, and Metcalf. I was watching ETR, and I think Silva described Metcalf as a limited player, which I thought was interesting because in my mind Metcalf is like a grown man player. So it made me want to look into him a little bit more, but I still like DK Metcalf. I think where he goes in the draft is right where he should. I could see a world where he reflips JSN next season. And I think he gets a little disrespected, but we forget just what Metcalf is capable of. I know a couple years ago he was like a 1-2 turn-ish guy, if I remember right. And I tend to find myself taking a fair amount of Metcalf. So I think I want another receiver here, and I'm gonna go Waddle over Godwin. Waddle was debated pretty extensively over in the Matic Discord, and I found myself on the Waddle side of things. Again, comparing it to last year, he was a late riser too. Like he was getting pushed into the second round. And the situation, pre-flop here compared to last year is pretty much the same. It's going to be, theoretically Tyreek's coming back, Tua is coming back. Tua finished the year pretty strong. But we didn't see that production from Waddle that we know he's capable of. I'm willing to call last season, to call for a mulligan here. I think Waddle's going to be okay, and we could be buying the dip. He's really annoying. He's one of those guys where if you draft him, don't watch the game or follow, because he's going to leave in the second quarter with an ankle injury and you're going to be tilting, and then he'll score a touchdown in the third quarter with no explanation. So yeah, just don't watch the games if you roster Waddle, but typically the box scores will work themselves out. All right, let us see. We are coming up. Interesting decision here. Do I want LaPorta or do I take a receiver or running back? I want to see where's my next pick. 88. I think I'm actually going to take LaPorta here. I really like this range of Jonnu, Njoku, and Warren. These are some of my favorite picks. I find myself getting a ton of them. I don't necessarily want to reach for either of them at 80 or 81. And then at 105, it's going to be a coin flip whether Njoku's actually there. And I showed earlier I have about 45% Njoku, so I'm perfectly okay not taking him in every single draft as much as I do like him. LaPorta, I like buying this dip on LaPorta versus where we were taking him last year. Again, he was the first tight end off the board. He had a really slow start to the season, but by the end, I mean, he was getting a ton of red zone targets. Tight end production can be a little weird sometimes. It can be a little scheme dependent. I know Ben Johnson leaving has some people concerned, about the Lions, about LaPorta, but I don't know why LaPorta in particular would struggle. We're taking Gibbs anywhere between the third and fifth pick. We're taking Amon-Ra in the first round. We're taking J-Mo around 40. So we're clearly in on the Lions. So I think LaPorta in the 60s is going to be seen as a steal. And, again, I don't want to relitigate the elite tight end discussion of, him versus McBride, Kittle, and Bowers. But I don't know that he's the clear fourth option, and I don't know why we get him at such a discount. But we'll see. We will see. That could be wrong. I mean, yeah, I think they're ranked correctly. At least, Bowers 1, McBride 2, and probably Kittle. Kittle is just so darn consistent. I think that's fair, but I also, if LaPorta finished as the tight end 1 or 2, I, just wouldn't be surprised if that was the run out. So I like the discount there, but this is a pretty receiver and running back rich range. So it does feel like you're passing on like the potential league winner this year, like a Calvin Ridley or a Jennings. If they finish the year with 1,300 yards and went nuclear in the playoffs, it just wouldn't surprise me. Like, how T. Higgins was sort of the BBM winner. Like, I could totally see the BBM winner coming from this range. And, when you take a LaPorta, you might be passing on that, which does give me some pause. I am hopeful I can get one of these guys I am into, though, here at 81, and probably take a receiver here and then take a running back at 88. But we will see what comes up. It would be nice if one of these two took Mahomes, just to not take another receiver. Hawkinson goes. Yeah, that is who. Egbuka is probably who I would have taken. Obviously, I cannot take him, but let's see what we end up with. How do we have these ranked? Okay, so he takes Bo Nix. That's interesting. I am going to take McMillian. I had pretty much not taken any McMillian up until I think yesterday or the day before, because I think Godwin's coming back and that we're paying too much for McMillian. I think when that signing is official, McMillian is going to fall, because this is a lot for the third receiver in Tampa. A lot of his production, most of his production came when Godwin was out. And so I am worried we're buying high on him. I don't want to have none of him. I think I'm going to end up with a lot of him in BBM because I think the price is going to adjust. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I think taking him at 81 is pricing in the possibility that Godwin leaves, that I really think is a little bit low. I don't think Godwin's actually going to go. But we will see. I will queue up Pollard, Warren, Jones, and hope that these three do not all go. Okay, so I will get at least one of them. I will be taking, I think, Pollard ahead of Warren, even though I have them ranked the other way. I took a lot of Warren early. I do want to smooth out my exposures a bit. Najee is likely to be leaving Pittsburgh, so things are going to open up for him, but they're going to bring someone back. Pollard, I think, Tennessee is likely to be a lot better than they were last year. So and he's going to be another year removed from his foot surgery. So I think Pollard is a good pick this year. So the two guys I talked about went, and so I'll take Aaron Jones. It sounds like, reading the tea leaves, there's a good chance Aaron Jones is just back in Minnesota. Definitely not as enamored with him, but I think he is the last of a tier until you get into backup running backs and real question marks. I don't take a lot of Brian Robinson Jr. Washington's certainly a candidate to add someone. His usage started getting a little squirrely at the end of the year. I mean, they were even working in McNichols when Eckler, Robinson were both healthy. They were still trying to work a third back in, which is a little scary. Combine that with Jaden Daniels, taking some of the carries, taking some of the goal line work. And when you watch Brian Robinson, you're not really excited. To me, he's a fade this year. I was low on him last year, and I think that was wrong. But I don't really love the pick this year. I don't think I'll fully fade him. I'll take a little bit of him if he falls. But that is to say, I am not really in on Robinson. I would prefer Charbonnet, who you just kind of know what you're getting. You're getting the backup in Seattle who can, absolutely smash if Walker gets hurt, which he seems to do. And then rolling the dice on Najee that he ends up with a good landing spot, because he really is the kind of guy that coaches love and could just plod his way to 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. And if you get that at pick 110, you're thrilled. So I do like Najee as a pick more than most of these guys in this range, I definitely worry about Dobbins' landing spot, and DeAndre Swift, I think, could literally go to zero. I mean, the Lions drafted Swift and then didn't use him, and now Ben Johnson's going to Chicago. I don't think Ben Johnson went to Chicago to get reunited with DeAndre Swift. So I have some serious worries about Swift. I've taken a little of him, but I am definitely not super excited. What's behind the B-Rob fade? Worried about Eckler? I thought he looked great at spurts, just a talent of B-Rob or rookie RB. Yeah, it's really all three. He never really impressed me too much as a runner last year. And it's not really Eckler that scares me, because I feel like Eckler kind of has his own job and thing. And most teams nowadays really are split backfields to one degree or another. I just worry he doesn't even necessarily have the full first and second down role locked up. I don't know that he even has the goal line role locked up. Again, they brought McNichols in at times, and you have Jaden Daniels, who's going to eat his lunch, fairly frequently. So I'm going to take Rashid Shaheed here, past ADP. So yeah, that's really what it is with B-Rob. I think there's a lot of risk in drafting him, and I just worry that even if he kind of repeats what he did last year, I guess he'd be fine. I guess that would be a pretty good value if he runs it back. But I see this year as the kind of the high water mark for him. Shaheed is to me a little bit of a scary pick. You have the speedster coming off of a serious knee injury, which makes me a little bit worried. But he was so good at the beginning of last year. His usage seemed to his usage wasn't just the like downfield threat role. He was getting a little more of the manufactured touches and underneath stuff. So I'm in on taking the risk there as a fifth receiver on a team who could potentially have some upside. I think it was a meniscus injury, if I remember right, for Shaheed. So we are coming up, and boy, this is a tough range of the draft. I find myself liking when I need a quarterback here because I take someone I'm happy with and kind of get out with my life. I'm going to end up eating my words and taking Brian Robinson if he comes to me, I feel like, which is really embarrassing because I just did this whole diatribe on why I don't like him. Dear God. I'm gonna take him because I need him more than I need Coleman or Diggs, who I don't like. I guess I could take Keenan Allen. This is bad, guys. This is so bad. This is so embarrassing. I'm taking Brian Robinson. And I'm doing that because I don't necessarily. I think I need another running back more than I need him. I'm a little worried about Aaron Jones. He's always injured. It's hard for me with a straight face to make the bull case for Brian Robinson because I just don't believe it. But I also take way too much Cam Scatterbo. I am a Cam Scatterbo slappy, but I do want to vary that a little bit. Washington refused to give any running back full workload, and that seems an issue for B-Rob, who didn't get much pass work and seeded goal wide. Yep. Yeah, Tyler, I agree. I was a B-Rob bear, and I think the bull case kind of played out, and we saw that it wasn't even that great. So, and you know what? You're right. And I think that's something to keep in mind. Not every pick is going to be a home run. I don't think Brian Robinson's going to be a zero. He certainly is the kind of guy that can hit your lineup a couple of weeks. So yeah, and there's a possibility Scatterbo doesn't see the field, early in the season, or frankly at all, because if you believe the FUD, he's going to get picked late. So it is hard sometimes to remember that not every pick is a swing for the fences. But to me, Brian Robinson feels like a bunt when you already have two strikes. It's that was a tough click for me. But I have him with Daniels, and my team that won BR had Daniels and Brian Robinson on it. So maybe we can recreate the magic, because that is not a popular combo then or now. So that is probably more than enough Brian Robinson discussion. So hopefully our next pick is a little more interesting. But going through the team from a draft capital perspective, I am happy with the way it's shaken out. Would love to add Penix. He's going to be right at about ADP, but he seems to get pulled up a lot. People are just excited for Michael Penix. I think there's also the people that convince themselves that the Penix Pitts stack you can kind of create it at certain spots in the draft. So people see that as a little bit of a backdoor stack that you can make. We'll see if we do that. I think Penix would be my pick here. And then I would feel pretty good at quarterback. I don't know why Sebron would take him. He already has Nix and Mayfield. But you never know. You never know. Sometimes it's the people that already have a ton of a position are the ones you have to worry most about. All right, so we'll just take Penix here, which I am more than happy to do, and we'll likely add a receiver with my next pick, assuming they're not all gone, which is possible. So Devin Neal goes. Which puts running back into this, little bit of a weird zone where Dowdle, we don't know where he's going. If he goes back to I had not taken much Dowdle yet, but talking it through, if he goes back to Dallas, if Dallas takes Gene T and Dowdle is just the backup or change of pace role in Dallas, it's actually not a bad pick, right? We're taking backup running backs at this point in the draft. And so I probably should be taking more Dowdle. I've almost been taking him, or not taking him because he doesn't have a team. Doesn't mean he's not playing football next year. He's going to be signed somewhere. But, he's a guy that could end up with a lot of contingent upside and maybe like a minor role somewhere. So I've been talking to myself into warming up to the idea of taking a little bit of Dowdle. This is a bit of a nightmare zone for wide receiver, because I don't think Travis Hunter actually is a wide receiver. I simply will not take QJ. And Romeo Doubs stinks. So this is not great. This is not great, folks. The tight ends are more exciting. Likely could be a huge riser if Andrews goes. He's also generally a pretty good player, even when Andrews is out there. I'm going to take Colston Loveland, which might be using a little more draft capital than I should at tight end, but he's been getting a lot of buzz. It's possible he even goes ahead of Warren, according to some mocks. I feel like I pulled Tillman down in that spot. Yeah, I think, we're starting to get to the range where ADP is less and less, valuable. I almost agree that I prefer Tillman to Doubs here. I think it's pretty much a coin flip. And I'm not worried about the 10 spots of ADP. So I don't mind that as a pick at all. Travis Hunter, worst ADP. I don't understand it. I was seeing people were pulling Hunter into the hundreds and 120s, and I think people think of Hunter a lot like Madden. What would you do in Madden? Oh, well, let's just let's just put him on the field. It's it doesn't work that way. These teams have practices, they have limited practices. You're going to tell me it's crunch time, you're going to have a guy who isn't running wide receiver drills, isn't normally with the offense just out there vibing. It's this isn't backyard football. These things just don't work. So I'd love to believe this, 10 packages, 10 snaps a game with the potential for more. I am very bearish on that as an actual thing in reality. Tillman a nice target, giving Cam and Kirk are the upgrades in his flash at X. Yeah, Tillman was really good last season. And don't mind that at all. I'm, a little worried about the concussion thing because it seemed like it was worse than your average concussion. I know obviously as the whole offseason, we're still taking Olave, we're still taking Tua, but I don't know exactly what it was that made it so bad they put him on IR with no hope of returning. So I hope everything's all right with that. I haven't heard anything to the contrary, but that might be limiting his ADP a little bit. Um, let's see. So Dobbs is falling. Tillman is there. And I could take a running back in this position. Let's see what Mayweathers and C. Brano have consistently sniped the guys I was interested in. So I don't even, want to get excited about a pick because it's probably going to get taken from me. So Ray Davis goes. Not a bad selection. And Jerome Ford. All right, Tyler, for you and for Greg, I'll take Tillman here. I think that's fine as a sixth receiver. I was going to say stacked with Njoku. I'm so used to having Njoku. I forgot he wasn't on this team, but that's fine. He doesn't need to be on this team. I think that's a fine pick. Romeo Dobbs is so uninspiring. I mean, this guy was always on the field and just always doing nothing. And I think Green Bay is a strong candidate to add somebody. So I'm pretty bearish on Dobbs, but I don't hate the pick. You know what? I lied. I'll say it. I do hate the pick. I think I don't want to have Romeo Dobbs on my teams if I can avoid it. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but I'm going to avoid it. So we are coming up. I will likely take a running back here. I find myself in this range taking one of Sampson or Gordon. I probably should mix in Blake Corum a little bit, maybe even more because I have Puka here, potential Rams bet. McVay just can't be helped when it comes to feeding Kyron the ball. So it's a little annoying rostering the backup because it's not going to be a timeshare. Like it's pure contingent upside play. That said, I think I'd take Sampson if he falls to me. Otherwise, I will take Corum there. I have been taking no Jalen Wright. Tyler, I think you have heard my Jalen Wright rants, and I don't think the Dolphins believe in him. All right, so Blake Corum goes. I'll take Dylan Sampson here. But yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to add somebody else. And Jalen Wright just looked really bad when he was asked to do literally anything last season. So I think on paper Wright makes a lot of sense, but I have such a problem clicking him. And if I'm wrong, I'll find out and I'll add some in the big board or in BBM. And I hate to do that. I hate to say, I'll get my exposure in a different contest. But with Jalen Wright, my bet in the big board is that they are going to add somebody and that he's a terrible pick. And if I find out that's wrong, then I can adjust in another contest. But he did not look good when given the opportunity to do much of anything. So far, the team, we've got two quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, running backs of Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, B-Rob, and Dylan Sampson. Wide receiver room of Puka, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Jalen McMillian, Rashid Shaheed, and Cedric Tillman, with tight ends of LaPorta and Loveland. So I'm pretty happy with this team so far. It looks a little different than a lot of teams I've built, but I like all the picks except for Brian Robinson. But you know what? We're going to make him feel welcome in this locker room. So I am excited to have him on board. Only bright spot was New England game. If we take a running back in the first 3 rounds, I might quit. Greg, I'm actually also a Dolphins fan. And do we not have a I feel like we're missing a pick, but we're going to get some comp picks in the 3rd round. I agree. We have a ton of needs. I'm tired of us drafting offensive linemen and safeties that suck because we're just going to do that again. But I don't think we're going to draft an early running back, but I could see us taking somebody late. But yeah, I mean, we got the right pick felt weird. Like we took him kind of early. I think it was the 4th round last year. And we had A-Chain and Mostert, who seem to still have a little gas left. So I never know what we're going to do, but it's always going to be wrong. Miami getting JKD, Najee, or Rico. Changed my mind. I unironically think Najee is like a perfect pick for the Dolphins. Hang on, I am making my pick here. I'll take Garendo. I've been trying to add more of him because if he really is the backup in San Francisco, then I want him here. So I'll add him to this roster. I think Najee's pass catching is kind of underrated, and we don't want A-Chain running into brick walls on first down, like those, the classic 1st and 10 run where you gain 3 to 5 yards. Like, that's not what we want him doing. So I definitely think like Najee would be a great add. And yeah, Dobbins, Rico, same thing. Like I totally see them making sense. They can work in the pass catching game too, right? Like, which is an important part of the way the Dolphins scheme is. Yeah. No, right. Yeah. Wright couldn't block and Wright also couldn't run straight. Buddhist Brees, welcome. Thank you for stopping by, man. Appreciate you coming and hanging out. I took like 3 shares of this Munga. I'm gonna say his name wrong. Monangi. Sorry. I took like 3 shares of him in the like first 4 big boards somehow. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't even know who this guy is. I have calmed on my Monangai drafting, but I'm not opposed to it because we should be taking some flyers on running backs late. But I would, I agree with Tyler. I think taking one of those veterans would make a lot of sense. And then we could have, if we had Najee, A-Chain, and then mystery late round running back, I would say that's a pretty exciting running back room on, really on par with anyone in the league. Let's get dang O-line. I mean, my God, we've been saying that since Dan Marino left, and we've never had a good offensive line. So I just don't think it can happen. Offensive linemen put on the Dolphins uniform and they lose all ability to block. It's really incredible. It should probably be studied, to be honest. But I feel like it's not for lack of effort. I mean, they sign guys, they draft guys, they're just really bad at it. The Dolphins front office is just not good. So I will probably try to make this a 3-6-8-3 team, meaning I need one more of each position. In the ideal world, I think I would take Derek Carr next. I don't take a ton of Derek Carr, but I have Rashid Shaheed on this team. So as a third QB, I don't mind that. If he goes, then I would probably take Jackson Dart. These rooms, they can get really QB thirsty. So I could end up frozen out at quarterback, which would be, not ideal, but it's certainly possible if Almighty T and C Brano take third quarterbacks. But hopefully they don't. So Almighty takes Derek Carr. So we'll see if we get Dart or not. Who could have seen how badly the trading away of picks and giving big contracts to Midtown QBs would hamper the team? Also letting Flores go is wild. Well, not only did we let Flores go, Tyler, Fangio left and then won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Like, what are we literally just cannot stop letting like great defensive minds leave. Like, I don't understand. Like, it is, I'm just going to take Dart because I want a third quarterback. And I think Dart is going to start at some point this season. But yeah, I mean, the Dolphins are a tough team to root for because they don't do things well. At least they have been somewhat fun to watch in the McDaniel era. I unfortunately have come around to the possibility that he's a little bit of a fake sharp. which is not a fun realization because I really like McDaniel and I want him to be good. I'm just worried he isn't. So I'm rooting for him, but I have concern. Yeah, we had, freaking Rumpelstiltskin at D coordinator, and we're like, nah, no, we're good, thank you. Because this running back room has a lot of veteran talent, I am going to, as a treat, take 156-pound Tez Johnson. Tyler, I'm sorry. I should have warned you before because I know you have compared him unfavorably to Tutu Atwell before, which I feel like is probably a good comp. But, we're throwing darts. I know De'Ami Brown, I could have paired him with Daniels, but my God, if the Commanders are still trotting out De'Ami Brown as the wide receiver 2 in Washington, then their front office is worse than Miami's. So I'm highly skeptical he will keep that role. And I just hope that some team is smart enough to get Tez Johnson out on the field doing Tez Johnson things. But yeah, I'm excited. The combine starts this weekend. So we'll start getting some actual numbers. We'll start seeing some of these ADPs change dramatically. So I would say if there's a 20th round rookie you really like, start taking them, take them a little heavier because they might suddenly become 14th, 15th round running backs. And if they stink at the combine, well, they're not going to fall any further. So now is the time to start sprinkling some of these guys in. Wow, the running backs got a little thin. Let me see. Tight end. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I will queue up Jordan James. I'll see if I get him. If not, again, these are all dart throws, so I don't get too upset if the guy I plan on taking gets taken. I've come around to James a little bit because, a little bit because of the comps with Bucky. They shared a backfield, and James was pretty much equally efficient to Bucky when they were together at Oregon. I have so much of Brashad Smith and LaQuint Allen that I want to vary it a little bit. So I'll take a flyer on another name I've seen pretty high in certain draft boards. Other potential guys, Khalil Mullings is supposed to be super fast. Woody Marks, I believe he went to USC, which is his main reason for being drafted here. It's a little inside baseball reference, but I have seen, I think it's Spags is high on Woody Marks, and I hope I didn't make that up. I've seen some content creators were saying that they liked Marks. I can't remember who. I apologize to Spags if I made that up. So it's not just it's not just Hayden Winks putting him in the ADP early on. There are some people who are still taking Woody Marks for his own merits. And so now I will round this team out with one more tight end. So again, fairly happy with how this team turned out. Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, and Jackson Dart quarterback. Chase Brown, Aaron Jones, B-Rob, Dylan Sampson, Garendo, Jordan James at running back. Puka, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, Jalen McMillian, Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Tillman, Jack Betch, and Tez Johnson at receiver. And then LaPorta, Loveland, and a mystery third tight end to round out the team. I certainly see the argument for stopping at two tight ends, for going LaPorta and Loveland. Part of me is actually considering taking another running back dart throw, especially with, potential huge ceiling with Chase Brown, but then where else am I getting that? Aaron Jones hopefully goes back to Minnesota. I think I've talked myself into the I think I've talked myself into a 7th running back rather than a 3rd tight end. I've invested the capital in tight end to where I think I want to do that. So I am going to take another one of these late round darts. I think there's a greater chance of that being who I need versus the tight end I'd take at that point. Again, if LaPorta fails, I'm probably in a little bit of trouble based on where I took him. I passed on a pretty good running back to take LaPorta there at 64. So let's see what Sean O.C. does. If he autos, he might take Damian Martinez, which is a little annoying because that's probably who I would have taken. Nope, he takes Aaron Rodgers. So I'll take Damian Martinez here. And so rather than the 3rd tight end, we'll do a 7th running back. So yeah, this team I don't mind too much. I would love to do another big board, but I really don't want to end up running into Pete's stream. So I will call it here, but I really appreciate you all hanging out. It is so much fun to do these while chatting with people and talking about this, because again, my normie friends just do not care about best ball in February. So chatting with you all is a lot of fun. Drafting with you all is fun. If you ever want to hop in one of these when I'm doing it, I'm more than happy. We can talk about your team. But yeah, again, thank you for stopping by. Please like and subscribe if you can. But otherwise, I'll see y'all out there. Thanks again, everyone.